Cowboys Injuries. Micah Parsons and Darren Bland do not. The drama surrounding the Dallas Cowboys is intense. After limping into their bye week following a devastating loss at the hands of the Detroit Lions, the Cowboys refused to go silent during their week off. Last week, owner and general manager Jerry Jones was visibly upset on local radio as he was bombarded with questions about roster construction and lack of off-season activity. Since then, Cowboys fans have had to sit back and watch as other teams competing for contention added to their rosters, with several veteran receivers on the move. Davante Adams reunited with Aaron Rodgers in New York, Amari Cooper was traded to Buffalo, and this morning, DeAndre Hopkins was traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. Meanwhile, the Cowboys are expected to remain inactive as the trade deadline approaches. Strangely, the Cowboys' return to practice on Wednesday seemed like a welcome distraction from the soap opera that is Cowboys Days of Our Lives. Here's where the Cowboys stand after their first practice day this week. While the team remains hopeful he could return for this week's game against the San Francisco 49ers, Micah Parsons was not participating in the team portion of practice. He was working with trainers on Wednesday. He has an outside chance of returning to team activities later in the week, and we will see how his involvement progresses. Cowboys cornerback Darren Bland also did not practice. Kalen Carson's shoulder has been out since week 3, but had a full practice on Wednesday. Eric Kendricks was also listed as a limited participant as he recovers from a calf injury. The 49ers are not looking too good injury-wise. Head coach Kyle Shanahan said he would be surprised if Christian McCaffrey played this week. He needs to be activated to return from the injured reserve. Deebo Samuel, illness/wrist, also did not practice, as he left last week's game with what was later discovered to be pneumonia. Starters Jordan Mason, ankle, and Nick Bosa, elbow, were limited today. Another significant injury to watch for the 49ers will be Jawan Jennings. Jennings missed last week's game with a hip injury. If he returns, he will be a key factor in this week's game. He was a DNP to start the week. Lastly, George Kittle was absent from Wednesday's practice with a foot sprain. Things do not look good for the 49ers as they start their preparation week for the Cowboys. Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy reacts bravely to Jerry Jones' bad accusation. The Dallas Cowboys have now had a week off to examine themselves through a 6-game sample and a 3-3 start. Owner Jerry Jones offered his summary of the examination, using the word bad to describe things in a way that sounds like a direct jab at head coach Mike McCarthy and the staff. Jones said this week, "We're creating bad plays. We're creating bad concepts." On Wednesday, here at the Star, McCarthy offered a rather bold reaction to his boss's accusation. "I talk to Jerry all the time," McCarthy said. "We had time to go through the self-scrutiny. I didn't see the comments specifically, but I don't think we have bad concepts and bad plays." The coach added, "We're not where we want to be. That's clear, and that is ultimately my responsibility, and I'm fully aware of it. We are very diligent. We're on top of what we want to do." One specific area that needs a full assessment is the running game. No team in the NFL has found it harder to establish a ground presence than the Cowboys. An offseason that showed little interest in reevaluating the position resulted in the worst stats in the league with little incentive for growth in the season's second half. Currently, the Cowboys rank last in yards per game, 77.2, and yards per carry, 3.5. While Jerry Jones has made his plans to explode clear, there is still existing hope for this group to compete. Looking at the NFC landscape, they are not too far out of playoff contention either. It's clear that no drastic changes in coaching or scheme will happen, and Jones seems content to rely on his internal crop of talent rather than acquiring players through trades. But there are ways for this team to improve its running game, or at least tinker with ideas that could help long-term. First, as our Mike Fisher previously mentioned, shuffling pieces along the line could serve well this time. The Cowboys' offensive line has not performed up to the standard this season, but a reshuffle across the formation could help with players working in more natural positions. It could be Tyler Guyton taking over as right tackle, or Tyler Smith moving to left tackle. Either way, this limited running back core needs help in creating lanes and space to work with. Speaking of this group, Dallas needs to finally commit to a structure in its backfield. The inability to stay competitive in half their games makes it hard to establish the run, but when they're working on the ground, Rico Dowdle should be the main ball carrier. Cowboys coach Mike McCarthy is out of contract for next season. This situation is not new for the Cowboys, as former coach Jason Garrett also coached twice in the final year of his contract without an extension. Garrett received a 5-year extension in 2014 but was not retained after the 2019 season. Since taking over the Cowboys, McCarthy has accumulated a 45-28 regular season record, but a 1-3 postseason record. Veteran Dallas Cowboys player responds to teammates' criticism about zoo recently. Jayron Kearse blasted the Dallas Cowboys for displaying their players in a zoo-like situation through fan tours. In defense, Jordan Lewis expressed his thoughts on the matter, somewhat defending the Jerry Jones-owned franchise. Former Dallas Cowboys players have expressed serious concerns about the team's training environment, comparing it to being in a zoo. Kearse, a safety for the team from 2021 to 2023, criticized the tours offered to fans at the Cowboys training facility in Frisco, Texas. He highlighted how these tours interrupt daily operations, noting that players frequently encounter groups while heading to meetings or lunches. Kearse's sentiments echo those of another anonymous player who emphasized that the facility should serve as a sanctuary for athletes focused on their development. They stressed that the constant flow of fans during training hours diminishes the concentration needed for practice, especially with the mounting pressures of the season. Jordan Lewis of the Dallas Cowboys responds to Jayron Kearse's zoo criticism in his part. Lewis stepped out and shared his thoughts on Kearse's view of Jones and how these fan tours supposedly affected the Cowboys during his time there. This could be seen in a tweet shared by Ed Werder on his official X account. Jordan Lewis, it's Jerry's world. It's not our job to go out and tell Jerry what to do with his organization. Our job is to go out and win games, regardless of whether you see tours as a distraction like the media or anyone else. We have to do our job regardless. Jones, the team owner, has long defended increasing fan access, even broadcasting live coverage from the draft room. While this strategy has contributed to the Cowboys' immense popularity, making them the world's most valuable sports franchise, critics argue it could hinder the team's on-field performance. The Cowboys have not secured a Super Bowl title since 1996, raising questions about the effectiveness of this approach. Kearse acknowledged that while fan engagement is important, it should not come at the expense of the team's preparation. As the Cowboys struggle,